Last time, I redesigned the calf of my Iron Man suit to allow me to be more mobile. This week, I'm applying that same idea to Wireframe's Mark 85 thigh. The goal for this is pretty simple. If my leg needs to bend, the armor needs to get out of the way. I started out the same way with every other piece, and I start printing out a few test pieces. I used a body scan to get the model to a rough starting point, but nothing beats a real test fit. So I printed it, wore it, and immediately started taking notes of what needs to be adjusted. From there, it's the usual cycle. Resize, resculpt, reprint. In this case, it took a couple of tries. Now this is the second video where I started showing you guys things that I started to make. You might have noticed that I do not hesitate with making test prints. My test prints are all in PLA, and I try to make it all a shade of blue so I can identify them at a quick glance. Because PLA melts at a low temperature, I'm able to print with PLA a lot faster than I would if I were to use what I plan on using for the final suit, ABS. If you've been following me on other platforms, you'll know that I love using acetone vapor smoothing to clean out and post-process all my 3D prints. I stopped buying sandpaper a while ago and I haven't looked back. Now, I'm definitely no stranger when it comes to acetone vapor smoothing. This method has helped me stop obsessing over surface finish and has let me refocus on features and electronics. Once I had a few parts printed, I wanted to test the process to make sure that it still worked with this filament. Now, if you guys want me to do an acetone vapor smoothing tutorial at a later date, let me know. There's a lot of risks involved, but I think it's well worth it. Here's the short version. Acetone evaporates into the chamber, a fan circulates the vapor, and it lightly melts the outer surface of the ABS print. Once it's smooth, I take the part out and I let the acetone gas off so the ABS part can reharden. Now there's a very fine line here. If you pull it out too early, you'll still see the layer lines. If you pull it out too late, the part kind of melts and it's deformed and it's impossible to save. These were the first parts that I smoothed using the filament that I'm probably gonna print the final suit with, the Polymaker Polylite ABS in dark gray. And honestly, these parts turned out incredible. I even acetone smoothed the part with the layer line issue. I kind of wanted to see if it would cover up the imperfections, but lo and behold, it still showed through. So you really need to have a base quality if you want to do good acetone smoothing without any additional preparation. So back to the thigh. The idea was not hard to comprehend. All I need to do is to make this front panel move forward when I lift my leg. I did it with the calf, so the thigh should be just as easy. Right? Here's what went wrong. Typically, I work from one step to another step. The first step of this process is to get the sizing right. Once you have the sizing right, then you can add the hardware and whatever mounts you need, so you don't need to rescale, so then you'll know that they'll fit. But when I went to go assemble it, I realized that the thigh that I had added hardware to wasn't the thigh that I sized. It was the stock thigh, so it didn't fit at all. So then I had to grab that sized thigh file and re-add the hardware. But then when I tried it on, I didn't consider the amount of space that the hardware takes up. So not only was the initial thigh that wasn't sized wrong, but the thigh that was sized was also wrong. So I resized it again and I added more hardware, and finally I had a fitting model, and I got so tired of this process at this point. Now that you know the headaches, here's the fun parts. The original model had this side plate as a separate piece. I designed a TPU rubber mount to allow that to connect to the front of the thigh. Because it's connected to the front, when the thigh moves down and out of the way, it brings that panel with it. And I think that looks really cool. I think it also adds a ton of visual depth, and that layered overlap makes the thigh feel way more mechanical. I also made the entire thing fairly modular. It breaks up into 3 smaller parts so then I can pack it if I need to. Now, a popular idea from my last video was to add magnets instead of adjusting the spring so then it stays in the top position. So I went ahead and added magnet cutouts, and I have them on order. They're on the way from Amazon, so I wasn't able to add them today. Once it's all together, it feels all right. It's not perfect. It never will be, but being able to feel the calf move out of the way and the thigh plate move forward as I move my leg without too much restriction is still really cool to see. All I need to do for the legs is design the kneecap and design the mounts. After that, I can start printing the legs in full ABS and start preparing them for acetone vapor smoothing. C2E2 is coming up a lot faster than I thought, so progress is definitely going to speed up. If there's any feature you'd like to see in the rest of the build, let me know. If it's a good idea and I have enough time to implement it, there's a real chance it'll make it into the suit. Otherwise, be sure to stick around. I'll be posting more progress soon.